And yet, we wrote the same identical facts surrounding the mystery of Elvis's alleged death.
Why did the Memphis police officially close the files on the death of Elvis Presley before it was even medically or scientifically possible to determine why and how he died? Why were all the stomach contents destroyed pre-autopsy? Remember, this negates a thorough autopsy. Why was there never a coroner's inquest? Why was the Shelby County District Attorney's Office never officially notified to determine if there were any violations of criminal law? Why have all the photographs taken at the death scene disappeared? Why have all the notes prepared by the medical examiner's office, why have they disappeared from the official files? Why have all the toxicology reports disappeared from the official files?
And usually these autopsy reports are 40 or 50 pages long, and they're very in-depth. The autopsy report that I viewed with Gail is 2 pages long. It lacks any of the significant information that is normally found in an autopsy report. And during the course of any normal investigation, this autopsy report would be incomplete and unacceptable. It's my opinion that a coroner that would even present an autopsy report like this should probably be investigated himself.
Not Elvis Presley at all.
For instance, people that went by the body in the coffin were heard to say that does not look like Elvis Presley. They were saying the nose is pugged. Elvis had a very classical nose. They noticed beads of sweat on the body in the coffin, and, you know, dead bodies don't sweat.
It was 84 pages long, but it was 84 pages too short. There were a lot of things that were missing that should have been there. This was an inventory of everything that was in Graceland at the time. And there were no photographs of his mother listed, no photographs of his daughter. His diaries were missing. Most of his jewelry was gone. He had maybe 5 pieces of jewelry listed, and everybody knows Elvis loved jewelry, and he had a tremendous amount of rings and watches and necklaces, pendants. None of those were there. Some of his cars were missing. A plane was missing. It was unbelievable. And Vernon spelled Elvis's name on the gravestone with 2 A's, even though he officially changed the spelling of his name on his birth certificate from 2 A's to 1 A. Also, Elvis went by 1 A. He signed his contract with 1 A. His marriage license had 1 A. His Army papers had 1 A. Another thing that's unusual is the position of the burial plots. Elvis is not placed next to his mother. He is between his grandmother and Vernon.
Them out, and this time I saw something in one of the pictures that I hadn't seen over the years that I was looking at them. Of course, I wasn't really studying them, but the sun had just hit on this picture in such a way that it picked up this image sitting in the doorway, a shadow in the doorway. For curiosity's sake, not that I'd know who was there, I wanted to see what it was. I took my son's magnifying glass, put it on the picture, started pulling it away from the picture to get a good visible view of it, and I was just shocked. I could not believe what I saw. My God, I had Elvis Presley sitting in the doorway, looking out at the fans walking past his grave. I have had the...
Monty Nicholson also saw a picture, allegedly taken after Elvis's death.
Experts who do facial analysis and so forth, where they compare it to other pictures of Elvis, and it matched up. They said, you know, they tried to find flaws, but they couldn't. I mean, you know, they measure nose to lips and the whole thing, and so they verified that it was Elvis Presley, and
which would indicate a match. Basically, the known voice of Elvis Presley compared with the voice on this tape is the same.
What was I would find out that Elvis Presley filled out and signed his own death certificate. Now, this is incredible information. I mean, this is mind-boggling when you think about it. It's never been revealed, and I can tell you that I was told by a member of the family to have it checked out.
I examined these two documents and compared them by measuring the slant of the handwriting, the spacing between the letters, spacing between the words, the size of the letters, and the individual letter formations. I also made transparent photocopies where I could lay one photocopy or transparent copy on top of another one for close comparison. I examined these under transmitted light with a light table. The result of my examination was that I found that the slant matched on both documents, that the size of the letters was the same, the spacing between the letters was the same, and many of the individual letter forms were the same. My conclusions after this exhaustive examination was, in my professional opinion as a document examiner, that the same person who wrote the letter to President Nixon also wrote the Elvis Presley death certificate or medical examiner's report of Elvis Presley's death.
In these documents, Elvis was the subject of numerous death threats. Some of these threats came from well-known underground figures, and it was also common knowledge that an undercover agent traveled as one of Elvis's band members. He may very well be a part of the witness protection program. But being a member of the law enforcement community myself, this prevents me from ever undermining any efforts of another law enforcement agency. And it also prevents me from telling you the answer to this question, which I know is the truth. 3 facts came to light when I began to research this question. My sources tell me that in March of 1977, a full 3 months before Elvis died, he cashed in 3 life insurance policies for just shy of $2 million. Shortly after his death, fact number 2, there was a checking account, a private checking account, with an excess of $1 million that vanished and has not been explained as yet. Third fact, there's still a remaining insurance policy that is yet to be cashed. What is the significance of this? It's just this. The 3 life insurance policies that were cashed were paid up. There's no fraud involved. Those life insurance policies are owned by the insured. The third policy, or the remaining policy I should say, was not paid up. If a surviving heir would cash in that policy and the person who was insured were still alive, that would be insurance fraud.
Balance, very, very positive, is just one more piece of an incredibly complex mosaic. I mean, it's impossible, totally impossible, to digest all of this information. You could do a 10-hour documentary. It wouldn't be long enough. I mean, there's tapes, pictures, phone calls, handwritten letters, the government connection, FBI papers. You know, you could just go on and on and on. There's so much. You know, it is mind-boggling, but sometimes it disturbs me because there are critics out there that won't even take the time to look at all this evidence. If my critics would come to my office and spend a couple of years, there's no way they could leave that office and not ask the question, is Elvis alive? When Ross Schaefer of Late Night conducted a poll, he conducted a poll and received 30,000 phone calls on the question, do you believe Elvis Presley is alive? And after their viewers had seen just some of the evidence, he was shocked, stunned to report that 84% of the people believed Elvis Presley was alive. Now,
is Elvis still alive? The feasibility certainly seems to be getting stronger.